This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I am Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the man of tomorrow. And I'm not flying solo today, but my man James is out saving some peeps. So I called in some backup. Because usually we like to try to get 3 on these type of days, but life happens, my friends. But I got my boy Logan Crowley from Single Bound up in here. Hello, Logan, sir.
Hey, Tyler. Thanks so much for having me back.
Now, just a little behind the scenes, people. We are recording this a little early than what you're hearing it because Logan's about to be a proud papa.
Yeah, any minute now.
So as of when you hear this recording, he will be having his bouncing baby boy. So we're knocking this out early. So we don't have a whole lot of news to talk about at the moment, but I do want to say, Logan, how excited on a scale of 1 to 10 are you for Supergirl? And let me crack a cold one real quick. Pepsi Zero, baby. But how excited are you for Supergirl?
Scale 1 to 10, I'm gonna say a 6 or a 7.
Okay. Fair.
I'm not the biggest fan of Woman of Tomorrow.
And see, we have not recorded our Woman of Tomorrow as of this recording.
Okay.
And I'm with you. But what I hope is when there's adaptive media like this, they take the elements that I did like in it a lot, and that's what's in the movie, and they put new stuff in that I'm going to like even more. So that's
that's what I'm hoping for as well. And I think from what I've seen that is largely where they seem to be going with it. I know, and there are some things where, like, I understand that fans of the book are upset about Krim's new design, but one of my complaints with the book is that I feel like Krim is a boring villain.
He looked like Sinbad. Like he's just going to read the... And I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I like that they gave him a new design, but I wish he doesn't look like he's a reject from Star Trek.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't love the design, but I do feel like... I feel like the other one, you could look at it in a couple years, and even if you've read the book, go, I don't remember who that is. Is that...
He's too plain. He's just a dude.
You know, and this one at the very least, you're not going to forget him.
He looked like Space Lex Luthor. Like, I'm a redhead in space.
But yeah, I would say I'm trepidatiously excited for Woman of Tomorrow.
Cool.
But I'm a Matrix Supergirl guy, so I also am probably not the guy to ask.
Ooh, that's it. Okay, so Logan will be back later in the year. That's already a duh. But what we've been doing this year is we've been trying to get a lot of the year's about Supergirl, but we've been front loading a lot with Kara. Though we did kick off February and stuff with some Convergence talk of just books that we missed, but the back part of the year, we're going to talk a little bit about Peter David's run and stuff. And we're going to get a little bit more. We've talked about Matrix before, just in our discussions, the Triangle era and everything. So Logan will come back and talk to us about that, some.
Well, that was my... I prefer when I think the fewer Kryptonians you can fit in the story, the better. And I liked that Matrix was an adopted cousin. I thought there was something really beautiful about that.
That's kind of where I fall with the less Kryptonians, the better. I like, because I always think back to the story of the brothers, having a brother myself, and I think there's a lot of similarities. I actually wrote a comic script years ago, and I used me and my brother as models for Jor-El and Zor-El. Doesn't hurt that my name is Jonathan, his name's Zachary, J and Z there. So I've always had an idea of I like the...
Every time we do a podcast, I find out you've added another first name.
Oh, I got 3.
To your list of first names.
I got 3 of them. So I like that. You know what I'm saying? And that was been when James and I did an episode Oh, a year or so, a year ago, it all runs together after a while. Where it was like we called it "It's All About Family." How everyone's got these families, and then we did like the super family has gotten too big,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where it goes to. Okay, and that's where I thought that we were going to go to purging some of the super family with the Superman Unlimited book, with the idea that the whole world had access to kryptonite. Like in lipstick and in gun, so.
Oh, you thought they were just somebody was just going to take out.
I thought we were going to start to see some.
30.
Yeah, I thought we were going to start to see some stakes, because we have.
That would have been something.
Because we have Superman. They brought back Mon-El in the Phantom Zone. We have Supergirl. We have Power Girl. We have Connor. We have whatever they want to call John Kent right now. Then
Tomorrow Man.
Yeah, tomorrow. What happened to Super Son? Where did that go?
That never touched the page.
Right. It was announced.
Yeah.
It was announced and then never happened. We have the twins that have kind of disappeared.
Osel and Otho.
Yes.
They're still in Philip Kennedy Johnson's Book of El Superman comic, which I am desperately trying to be a fan of, but it is boring.
I started issue 1, then I realized, no, I don't want to make this mistake again. I will wait till all the issues are out. I will read it in one sitting, and then we will review it and talk about it. So it's slated for later this year.
Gotcha.
And then we have, for a brief moment, we had Val Zah we thought was going to be a part of things. Mm-hmm. But then we got the Superman of China, which technically he's not Kryptonian. He's a whole other thing, and I really like him, Kong Keenan.
But he is physiologically a Kryptonian now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Power Girl.
I said Power. And then Lois, who is, Superwoman is. So it's like, okay, we have way too many now. We need to fix this. And I've thrown out suggestions over and over about how to fix this, but my one story is take Power Girl and Connor and send them into space in their own book as like the rejects, the overs.
Well, Superboy Prime.
Yeah, and now we have.
Yeah.
And as of this recording, I haven't started reading The Reign of the Superboy yet, just because I am an app reader. But today, my good listeners, my good friends, my cool people, we're going to talk about Superman writers. Now, I want to say up front, I was making a list a while back, and then when I actually had someone online send me this as a tier maker that they had created. So I thought this was a really great tier maker, and it's kind of designed for writers, but also for Superman runs. But we are going to look at it from the point of view of just the writer. And so I'll make sure Logan is on board with my ranking system I've created here.
I'm here for the ranking system.
So my top tier is called Rao. So God awesome, right? Superman, Argo City or Lost in Space, kind of in the middle. Phantom Zone, and then Exploded Krypton, which, is not that great. And we're looking at the writer themselves, not just the run that's being depicted. So that person's writing of Superman as a character. So, how does that sound? So we had some quick technological difficulties, but I got Rao as our top one, so like our god level. Superman, Argo City, which is Lost in Space, kind of in the middle, Phantom Zone, and then Krypton Exploded.
Brutal, but I love it.
And then, like I was saying, this was set up, with a lot of writers. It was a really great point to jump into. And this is just for fun. There are more writers that aren't, like I was going through here. One that I'm glad is not on here, because then I'd have to put it in Krypton Exploded twice, would be Frank Miller. But there are a couple that are named that are on here twice, because this was set up for, it says Superman writers, but then when you open it, it's about runs. Mm-hmm. So whenever we see someone twice, we'll just, put them both in a category. So without further ado, here we go. We're going to kick it off with Carrie Bates.
So this is a tough one. and he's one of there's going to be a lot of these on this list for whom I have a great deal of respect, but don't necessarily have a standout, incredible story to direct listeners to. And Cary Bates is one where Cary Bates' legacy is that he is a very solid Bronze Age journeyman Superman writer who just has a lot of the comics colored in around your favorite issues. And comics tend to overlook those guys, but without them, the comics don't continue to exist to get the great issues that we have. When I hear Cary Bates, though, I mostly think of Superboy. My pick for this one is the New Adventures of Superboy series that was kind of sort of supposed to be a tie-in with the TV show, but you can read it without the TV show and know exactly what's going on. I would say that Cary also, unfortunately, is a perfect example of a writer that goes right in Argo City. Okay,
that is where I was thinking, and what I want to stress is this doesn't have anything to do with their writing ability, their voice of the character. And I think with some of these, the hardest part is going to be the Superman that they were writing, because you brought up he is a Bronze Age writer. And I have said before that the Bronze Age is my weakest point of the character that I will be, getting to later on in the podcast. So, all right, Bendis. I don't even feel like I need to go there, but I'm going to say Phantom Zone.
I would, if Bendis isn't in Exploded Krypton, nobody is.
Fair. So we're going to just...
I like Brian Michael Bendis as a writer. I love Ultimate Spider-Man. I like New Avengers. The first New Avengers annual is one of my favorite comics ever. But it's probably the worst Superman run of all time. It's either him or Chuck Austin, and Chuck Austin's run had no consequences. We are still trying to scrape the Bendis run off of continuity.
I'm hoping that the reign of Superboy's I will forever be mad at Bendis for aging up John, so he goes to Exploded Krypton.
Oh, there's so many. Aging up John, having Lois abandon John, Jor-El, the way that story wraps up.
I'm telling you, dude, his Man of Steel, quote-unquote, run just felt like a mini-series to wrap up what they were doing in Rebirth with Mr. Oz, Jor-El, and move on from it.
Yeah.
So instead of just stopping, okay, we'll give you 6 issues to kind of tweak it, and end it, and that's all it was. So
Rogol Zar is a character with nothing going on, and and the piss of Resistance is that he wraps the whole thing up with revealing Superman's identity promptly before he quits, and just leaves that fart in the elevator with all the rest of the Superman writers to figure out. And it's the worst part of PKJ's run is having to dig themselves out of that hole. It's the worst part of Williamson's run. It's having to dig themselves out of that hole. And I don't blame those writers because they were stuck with it, but,
So let's jump in, because, I don't care what order we go into. Philip Kennedy Johnson. My vote for him is in Superman.
If we were talking about this at the end of the Warworld saga, I would 100% be with you, maybe even in Rao. But looking at the Metallo arc that followed Warworld and the Book of El comic that's out right now is really just a snooze fest. I'm leaning towards Argo City for PKJ.
See, this is why we usually try to have 3 people.
Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors.
Let's go. Let's go. Rock, paper, scissors, go.
You're not on camera.
You won. I threw scissors.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that's how it's decided, people. And that's how it's done. All right, random. I'm just gonna do this random. I'm just gonna move this and this. I'm gonna grab one. Let's just take this one. Siegel and Schuster. They have to be in Rao.
Rao, yeah.
Because you don't get any of this without them. and the fact that Siegel has done so much work building the backstory of Superman through Superboy and stuff that he didn't even get credit for, that we'll never even know that was his writing.
Yeah,
So-
without Siegel, not only is there no character, there's no genre. So if any, is the writing dated now? Yeah, but again, none of this. We're not having this conversation.
Yeah.
We're John Carter of Mars fans or whatever.
I'm sitting in a room right now that is purple. Because that's what the walls were.
Yeah.
I have nothing in here.
Yeah.
But maybe my phantom ring. Because he was in the, he was maybe.
Oh, for Siegel and Schuster, Superman #4. One of the best comics ever written. Fantastic Lex Luthor issue. One of the best covers you're ever going to find. And I mean Superman #4 from 1939.
Yeah.
That's my recommended issue for him.
Good. It's a good one. All right. So we're going to kind of jump around. Like I said, Auto Binder. I've read some of Auto Binder. But I'm going to go, for me personally, I say Argo City. Because nothing's popping to me unless Logan changes my mind.
This is a row for me. Auto Binder is Supergirl, Brainiac,
So we put him
City
in.
of Kandor, Bizarro, Crypto. I would say that Auto Binder is as important to Silver Age Superman as Siegel and Schuster are to Golden Age Superman.
Okay.
Like,
So how
Warriors
will
of Solitude.
we will settle this by putting him in Superman. Kind of split the difference. Now.
This is
Nah.
tough.
Okay. You're right. I'll put it in Rao because you're right.
He
When you're right,
fleshed
you're
out
right.
the Kents. He fleshed out the Kents. He basically invented Smallville. I mean, it appeared briefly in Schuster before, but the Smallville that we understand, like,
And I have to stress kids or adults listening, probably adults, not kids. They're like, what is podcasts? We only listen to like things beamed directly into our brain. Some of those comics of the era didn't give the writers the credit they were due. It was only retroactively added. So sometimes it's tough for me to think back to stuff I've read. Like, was it this person? And, the older I get, I forget stuff. So
let me also say with Otto Binder, he has another very important role in the Superman legacy, which is that he actually got his start writing Captain Marvel / Shazam.
No, I remember that because
Yeah.
I random facts.
And in which he basically, a lot of what we have in Superman, even before he was writing there, was developed to challenge. Superboy only exists because Captain Marvel Jr. was selling well, right? So that's why they pulled the Superboy idea that Siegel had pitched.
Yeah, it screwed him
Years
over with
before.
that.
Yeah. But so Binder, even before he was writing Superman, was writing stories that were changing Superman forever.
All right. Greg Pak. Is that how you say it? Do you say Pack or Pak?
I say Pack. I have no idea what is right. So
Greg P here.
rock, paper, scissors for how to pronounce Craig Pack's name. He has
Just-
to change it. Whatever it is, whoever wins, he has to change it.
Just send it in and let us know what you like. I have a thing with names. Is if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. But if you tell me how to say it and then I mispronounce it, that's bad on me.
Yeah.
Like my wife has a unique name and her sister had a unique name, and I don't understand if repeating the same word back to somebody.
Yeah.
Like how many people she'll say her name and then they repeat it back incorrectly. But Greggy here, I like some of the elements in his writing with what I've read of him doing Superman in the New 52. Like the cover right here is the truth. I like some of it. I feel like he was kind of pinholed to where he had it in some points. But then there's other stuff I just really didn't like. I'm going to go Phantom Zone.
I'm with you on Phantom Zone. I like the first part of his run. Actually, my suggestion for him is the Under the Skin trade, because that's the first part of his run where Clark goes back and he's dealing with an invasion in Smallville. Some really nice kind of time traveling moments with Pa Kent, and the culture of Smallville is cool, and I really like the way he writes Steel. And he really brings Steel back into the New 52 for the first time since Morrison, and and does a really good job writing him. But when you get into the truth stuff and Clark is shooting up kryptonite jugs, it's just it just feels edgy for edgy's sake. And I like Greg Pak as a writer, but this is not his best work. His best work is Incredible Hercules.
All right. I'm going to skip. I'll come back to him. James Robinson. I'll let you take the lead.
This is a tough one because he really hasn't written a lot of Superman. Like, a lot of his new Krypton run, he's writing Mon-El, and then he ends up kind of like he gets hit in the face with new Krypton as Jeff Johns throws it out the passenger window of his car, leaving. So it's difficult to say that that's really James Robinson, and also that ending is really botched. I'm going Phantom Zone for James Robinson.
I'm not going to argue with you. I have a lot of the same feelings.
And I like James. Golden Age is one of the most incredible comics I've ever read. And I would love to see him get an extended run on Superman that is just him, just his ideas. Let him have some room to stretch his legs. I think it would be amazing. But I don't think we've had that yet.
All right. So this one might be a little...
the Mon-El comic is the Mon-El trade is my recommendation. Although it does have some weird sexual torture stuff in it that I wish it didn't have. So trigger warning for that before you get into it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right. J. Michael Straczynski. I'm going Rao. And I will tell you why. And you can argue with me, and it's okay. Because we're friends and we can do this.
Yeah.
I feel that he beautifully captures his voice in the first issues of Superman Grounded in some of his conversations. And I pick it because I feel like he got the character right. Some of the world, I think, he left the book. But two of my all-time favorite Superman moments are in his run. It's the girl on top of the building who wants to commit suicide. And the little boy that's getting abused by his dad. Yeah. And to me, those are two moments that purely reflect Superman as a person. One is the dialogue, and I don't have it in front of me, is when he tells the woman, he gives her the speech about if you decide to jump, I won't stop you. Because it shows that he's giving her the choice to do what she wants and not imposing his will. The other is when he threatens, basically, if he doesn't hear that boy call daily, he will come back for that father who is abusing his son.
Yeah.
So to me, that shows that he understands the character. I will accept Superman, but in my heart of hearts, just because that to me is who Superman is, I say Rao. But I will accept your thoughts.
So this is a guy that
I also liked Earth 1 too. I thought for
one. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I said for reinvention of the character and trying to do something different, I thought he still kept the character and brought a fresh take. So, your turn.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Grounded, mostly because Grounded was forced such a status quo shift, and then he didn't finish it.
Yeah, it fell apart at the end. Yes, that's why I cited the two stories. Yeah,
and I think it had a lot of potential, but I don't know that it didn't get to manifest. On the other end of that, I think Earth 1 is Ultimate Superman, right? Like it. That is a solid B+ Superman run to me. I would go Superman.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a nice little.
I was going to lean Argo City, but I think Superman. I don't think Grounded is as bad. I will say I don't think Grounded is as bad as some people act like it is.
We're gonna review it this year, and I'll probably have to stop the podcast 7 times because I will start getting teared up just because of the person I am, but the work that I do. Those 2 books touch me very hard. I sometimes have to just be okay, emotional Tyler.
No, I understand. It has such a great premise, and it gets Superman back to his roots as the champion of the oppressed,
and
which I really like.
That is something I would love, to incorporate. Since James Gunn's next film is Superman: Man of Tomorrow, I would love for it to be a film called Superman: Champion of the Oppressed, or something I just. All right, Tyler. All right, bring down the emotions. Who you want to talk about next? I'll let you pick.
I'll tell you what, actually. Go ahead and put Straczynski and Rao, because I dug my heels in on Otto Bender. So you got some points to cash in.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna have to save those points for later, but I'm good. Like, I just wanted to state my case. Let's go Alan Moore. Because I feel like Alan Moore, when it says, you say Alan Moore and Superman, your mind goes to two stories. Yep. One I like, one I don't like, but I understand.
I think, this is a hot take probably, I think two of his stories, three Superman stories.
Okay.
4 if you count Supreme.
I don't, but because I haven't.
You should read Supreme, dude. You'd love it. But the unrelated. Don't let Case Aiken hear you say that.
That's okay. He can yell at me, and then I'll read it, and we can talk about it.
But so
what? That's Case. Somehow Case has heard this already. He's messaging me now from the future.
So he's got 4 stories. They're all incredible. They're 4 of the best Superman stories ever written, if you count Supreme. 3 if you don't. But that is 4 comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever Happened is 2. Superman Annual 11 for the Man Who Has Everything is 1. And the DC Comics Presents with Swamp Thing is 1. So I have a hard time putting that above Superman, right? I think that if you're, I'm in my heart, I'm trying to save Rao for people whose work changed the character forever.
Yeah,
I think that Alan Moore's work is impeccable. It's some of my favorite Superman comics. When we do our top 3 at the end, spoilers, he may be up there, but like, I don't think that he ever broke into that Rao spot.
I agree. I like For the Man Who Has Everything, but I like the version they adapted for the animated series.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it both. But that's my favorite episode of the series. One of my favorite comics ever. It's just about perfect. But again, it's 4 issues. Some of the guys, we're going to talk about Dan Jurgens on here.
Oh yeah, don't worry. That'll probably be the quickest conversation we'll have. Yeah. Watch.
So I would put Alan Moore in Superman.
Okay. Because I'm also not the biggest fan of Whatever Happened to the Man Tomorrow. I respect the book. I've gone back and forth on it, but I don't believe that Superman would give up.
I understand that.
And that's what I'm going to say about that.
I will say that may be part of your Bronze Age blind spot, because one of my beefs with Bronze Age Superman is Bronze Age Superman would 100% give up. There are so many Bronze Age Superman comics where this man is begging to be fired. He's just sitting on a snow-capped mountain with his head in his hands, miserable that he has to be Superman.
See? There you go. All right.
I think I have the conspiracy theory. I think he killed Mxyzptlk just so he could have an excuse to whip that gold kryptonite out.
Ooh.
Not really. But
nope,
yeah,
that's it.
I have some beef with Bronze Age Superman. Let me tell you though, Alan Moore. Before we move on from him, and the suggestion is Superman Annual number 11 for the Man Who Has Everything. Perfect comic book.
As a Superman fan, you have to read it at some time, and then wait 10 years and read it again.
Yeah,
and to see how you feel where you change.
I would argue though that outside of his actual Superman comics, Alan Moore has done so much damage to the character of Superman with Dr. Manhattan and Miracle Man. And the way that those characters rippled back and affected the actual Superman was 100% negative, and led to other lesser writers creating some of the worst Superman comics. So that's another argument for keeping him out of Rao.
Okay, I like it. Let's go, Scott Lobdell. How do you pronounce it?
Asshole. Oh, sorry.
All right, Scotty L. Scotty L, I think, is going to go into Krypton Exploded.
Yeah, I apologize for swearing.
Nope, it's okay. He said Athel. It's a Scottish name and he is just throwing out baby names. It's part of our
Irish. So.
It's part of our, it's the accent.
Yeah. So this is an exploded Krypton.
I've never read anything that I liked from him when it came from Superman.
I've never read anything that I liked from him at all.
All right, cool.
But also, he's apparently, a predator. So double exploded Krypton. If you have, if we need another column for him that is between Rogolzar's buck teeth.
Oh man, I like it. All right, I'm gonna grab this one. Brian Azzarello, as a Superman writer, I'm just gonna say this, to me, is Argo City, and here's why. I feel he did some good stuff in his big Superman story run, which we'll be revisiting probably next year. But there's parts of it I really like, but some stuff I feel is a little out of character for Superman. But what makes that run as popular as it is because it's the Jim Lee art.
Yeah.
And, like I said, we're not talking runs, but how many times does runs affect, or the art affect the run? Like the Bendis, it was Ivan Rice's art that made me just want to look at the book.
Right.
Even though the story was pissing me off.
Yeah.
So that is my thought on Azzarello. What is your thought?
I feel like for tomorrow, the weakest part is the story. I don't think anybody understands what is going on at the end of that comic, including Brian Azzarello. I certainly don't.
Thank you.
But I think that Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, is good enough to keep him in Argo City.
Okay, and I will agree with that. And once again, that is the flip of he's now writing Superman from Lex's point of view, which is a great book.
Yeah. Brian Azzarello, he does incredible gritty crime comics, and that's why Lex Luthor, Man of Steel works, and it's why his other Superman stuff doesn't really. It just isn't. It is not in his wheelhouse. And I think that because we came out of the method actor generation right before us, we put in some ways too much importance on range. Like, if you have one thing that you do really well and you make a career off of doing that one thing really well for 60 years, you did a good job.
Yeah.
And that Brian Azzarello needs to write Batman, The Question, 100 Bullets, Gotham,
Okay, here's something for you I just thought of. Did Azzarello ever write Green Arrow?
He has to have.
That's what I'm sitting there thinking. Like, he had to have done Green Arrow, because Green Arrow is actually. I had a whole conversation with Solomon the other day about like how I actually am a really big Green Arrow fan, and how I got back into reading comics at a time, and I actually started a lot with Green Arrow just because I wanted something new and fresh to read, and I just feel like you were sitting there naming the characters. And I'm like, gosh, if he has not written a Green Arrow story, I think something's missing.
I feel like he has to. I'm somebody is going to say in the comments on this a Green Arrow comic, and I'm going to go, obviously, duh. What was I thinking? But it feels like he must have.
Look, I'm a father of 2 children. He's about to be a father of a child. Our brains can only hold so much. Okay. All right. Like, after a while, I just start to like second guess myself. Okay. And my wife knows everything, and she's not here right now, so I can't call for backup. So if someone out there,
my wife's not here either. We're doomed.
I don't know what I'm doing. My wife will say, "What do you want to do?" So I'm like, Jania, I married you, so I never had to make a choice again. I made the best choice, and that was it. It never works, so but I try. All right, let's. The Mark Millar Immonen. Where would you put that?
I really hate Mark Millar. I think that he has written probably my least favorite comic books that have ever been written. Ultimates and Old Man Logan.
To me, Millar is a person who does much better when he writes his own. Like I enjoy Kick-Ass. The book was cool. I actually really
I like Huck. I like Huck.
I like Huck a lot, and I actually really liked Jupiter's Legacy.
I actually really liked this. I did not like the mainline Jupiter's Legacy, but the spin-off of Jupiter's Legacy that's about the team in the 60s with the Wilfredo Torres art. I really enjoyed that.
Well, they've retconned it now to be all Jupiter's Legacy. It's now like they've redone it, so now those books that you're talking about are like Jupiter's Legacy Volume 1 and 2. Then the main book is like 3 and 4, and then the last one they did was like 5 and 6. It's now a 6-issue volume all under the same banner, even though it was like split up, like you were talking about. Yeah.
I'm going to demonstrate on this one, though, that when I trash talk Scott Lobdell, I am still being objective, because I actually think Millar has to be at least in the Phantom Zone.
I will respect that.
You know what? Maybe he goes in Argo City, because his Superman Adventures comics are so good, I didn't realize he wrote them for 20 years.
Okay, fair enough.
And Red Sun is not for me, but it is a good comic.
I like Red Sun till the end, when they tried to like all of a sudden like make it this big like weird time loop thing.
I thought you were going to say when Superman quits. Well,
I mean,
if Superman quits, I'm out.
I don't like when Superman quits, but then the idea that like Lex Luthor helps perpetuate to the stars, and eventually his descendants change their name to L, and then in the future they and it's like, and then it goes back to like basically Superman. It's
No, it's dumb. But I cannot in good conscience crap on it, even though I don't like it. I can't crap on it too much. A, because I think the art is fantastic, and B, the scene that I think was written by, I have a suspicion that it's one of the things that Grant Morrison ghost wrote for Millar.
Which I think the ending he did.
The scene where Lex slides him the note that says, "Why don't you just put the whole world in a bottle?"
Which is great.
Is one of the best comic book. I mean, that moment hits like a ton of bricks, and so I'm willing to put aside my personal feelings and put my least favorite writer in the history of the written word in the middle bracket.
All right, so let's get a good one. Elliot S. Magan.
This is a tough one, because there is a certain era of Superman fans that if we do not put this in RAL, will be apoplectic. But I don't. Definitely he's in Superman or RAL, because he is the best Superman writer of the Bronze Age.
And I agree with everything you're saying. I've read both of his novels, and they're good for what they are, but they are Bronze Age. And it's like the timing that he got to write Superman is my least. Like I said, I haven't read all the Bronze Age. I've dipped in here and there, and in his novels, of course. But I like his philosophy on the character. About Superman deals with moral quandaries.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I think he does. I think he does go in RAL, and I'll tell you why.
Not going to argue.
Because I think that like I said, I think we should save RAL for writers that changed the character, and I actually do think that Magan's work really leveled up the maturity of Superman comics from the very campy, very sitcom-y Silver Age stuff to the Superman books that we love. I think that he brought a level of academic quality to the Superman comics that you had not seen, at least in a long time, in the Superman books. Although, like Moore, not as many Superman comics as you would think. More than Moore, certainly, but definitely not as many as when you get into guys like Kurt Swan and Jurgens. But I think Elliot S. Magan goes in RAL. I think that's a slam dunk. And it is when you get to the period where you're reading Bronze Age stuff on the show, and I hope that I'm there. I think you will see that it is the best Bronze Age stuff.
I want to say that as of right now, off my head, I think it's next year. I had to recalibrate some stuff, but I think I could be wrong.
I'm falling way behind on my recommendations. Elliot S. Magan is got a good one. Superman number 247. Must there be a Superman?
There is.
And the whole comic is about the question of whether or not Superman being Superman is essentially neutering the human race, making them where they can't do anything for themselves.
Well, I mean, that's something about just technology and what we have now. We're like, what are we doing to ourselves? But
and Superman has to wrestle with that in that issue. It's very well done. It still stands up today, I think.
Let's just knock out the easiest one. Dan Jurgens.
Rao.
Yep. Yep, we're done. Okay.
I will say my recommendation for Jurgens is the Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks Lois and Clark miniseries.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. It brought me back into comics. It got my wife into monthly comics. She started reading that book, and stays a comic reader to this day. After she read Superman for All Seasons first. I think I mentioned that on another podcast, but that was the first book that she was getting out of my comics bag and reading when it came in new. Just incredible work. And The Death of Superman. I mean, Dan Jurgens' work speaks for itself, and I don't think there is a writer more prolific on Superman as a writer, except maybe Otto Bender, than Dan Jurgens. And honestly, we'll never know because so much of Otto Bender's work was uncredited at the time that it was published.
I have to say about Jurgens, is Jurgens' legacy continues now. When you look at like the history of comics, you think Jurgens really was started, hitting in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. He's still going now. And how much different eras that he's touched in writing Superman and his contributions. So, all right. Some of these I want to wait. George Perez.
I almost removed him from the list. I almost argued to remove him from the list.
Fair.
I love George Perez. And if we were talking about Superman artists, he's way up there. He is my single favorite comic book artist of all time.
And that's why I find that it's so weird that he did get the lead writer for when they relaunched Superman for the New 52, the Superman book, and the story was okay. So we're just going to say Argo City for his writing ability of Superman.
I was going to say Phantom Zone.
Oh, okay.
I don't really think... I mean... I don't think he has as many... I'm not going to put him in Exploded Krypton.
No,
because nothing was that bad. But frankly, he's written Superman twice, and he didn't finish his run either time.
That's true. Because didn't Jurgens take over?
Yeah.
Jurgens in the New 50...
well, both times, actually.
Yeah.
Because Jurgens took over for him right before the Triangle era, writing Action Comics. And then Jurgens took over for him in the New 52 as well.
Gotta open this jar for my wife. Can't look bad on camera. Got it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Junior.
He says hi. She's working on dinner. I'm just so all the listeners know, I made dinner. Me and Solomon did last night for Jania. Okay, we take turns. I'm not one of those guys. Okay, just so you know. Don't expect anything. Okay. Let's get some of these easy ones out of the way. Jeff Loeb.
Rao for me.
Yeah. I think there's a beauty to Superman for All Seasons. I continually love the way he writes Superman in his Superman Batman run. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll just knock him out real easily.
I mean, the Loeb Kelly era of the Triangle era is, to me, top 3 favorite Superman runs and probably Superman's best status quo.
James
Loeb was the architect of that.
James and I are we are pausing. We are in the middle of that. We have paused it because we are what do you call it? Doing a lot of Supergirl stuff. We paused it at his introduction of Supergirl, and so.
And I'll throw in, I'm not going to tell the whole story again because I told it on the Artists podcast, but again, right when we started dating, my wife wanted me to give her one comic to show her why I love Superman so much. I gave her Superman for All Seasons, and now our son is going to be named Clark. That is a straight line, like
Yeah.
Jeff Loeb.
There is such a beauty to that book. And I think there's a couple things in it that I'm not 100% on, right? But it's like a 90%er, you know.
For me, I can respect it, but for me, that is.
It's
actually just bought the absolute copy of Superman for All Seasons for Amy as a present because Clark was being born, and she cried. So I'm with you, but it's a book I cannot be objective on.
I just don't like some of the way the Lex stuff goes towards the end. That's it. But other than that, I'm completely.
Lex is literally my only complaint in the book, which is I would give anything for him to be bald, but that's all I would change. And I understand why he's not bald, but I would give if Lex was bald, and I didn't have to have the conversation with everybody I loan it to about why isn't Lex bald, and if people like Zack Snyder and weren't using that not bald Lex as an argument for their Lex not being bald because they don't want to shave their actor's head. Like, that's my only beef with the book is Lex's hair.
Fair enough. Mine too. Well, I mean, just Lex, but yeah. Okay. Joe Kelly.
Rao.
Okay.
Rao
I'm not gonna argue with that. That's part of that Loeb Kelly error.
He's the other half of the Loeb Kelly area, and he wrote Superman 775, which is arguably the best single issue of a comic or a Superman comic.
Yes, I've listened to your episode, and everyone should listen to it. Who's a Superman? Who's on here? Yeah, I mean, that was when you and I met, and we were putting two and two together of who we were. Yeah. I went and made sure I had downloaded that one, and I did, and I listened to it. And even when I went back and rewatched the movie it's based on, like, I had your thoughts in the back of my head. So
I love it, and I'll tell you, the comic I'm writing right now, I'll say this here, and then we can see if anybody catches me. I borrow a lot from Action Comics 775 thematically. Like, it definitely was an inspiration of where I went with the story.
So if anyone's interested, I did a pitch on my Jonathan Tyler Patrick YouTube page where I like to pitch movie ideas, right? And my idea for a third James Gunn Superman film was to kind of remix the Authority with the with the Elite, and kind of remix them together and do a version of whatever happened to Truth, Justice, and the American Way as the jumping off point for the third James Gunn Superman film.
It'd be perfect, and it also fixes the Jenny Sparks problem. Like, if you smush them together and you put Manchester Black as the leader instead of Jenny Sparks, then you get around the issue that Jenny Sparks dropped dead at the end of 1999. Like, her whole power set and origin and everything is tied to being born in 1900 and dying in 1999. So that pitch fixes that. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. I like to be appreciated. Now I feel good. Okay, Roger Stern.
Roger Stern is definitely Superman for me.
I agree. I've been reading a lot of where his name's popped up more and more than I realized. When I'm reading with my friends over on Capes and Lunatics. So he's one of those I think got grouped in with other writers of the time. And reading his stories, I appreciate it more that he's made some... He doesn't pop. The name doesn't pop a lot. But I think he's a great, solid writer of Superman.
Well, all of his stuff is in the Triangle era. So, and there's some of these guys... Jurgens has this a little bit. He got to circle back, but he shares every story arc. It makes it really difficult to get a beat on what he's like alone as a writer.
Yeah.
But I really think that Roger Stern is if you look at the Triangle era creative team as a car, Roger Stern is the engine. Like, he keeps such good, well-oiled mechanical storytelling in those books in a way that I think really served the entirety of that era of Superman.
Well, there was a beat and I can't remember where it was exactly, where you had like each story arc was like 4 issues, right? Mm-hmm. So you had one person set up with the first issue, then 2 that filled in, and then 1 had to close it out. And that's not fair as a writer, that every book you're writing is the closing out of a story that you didn't start, or that you're just starting a story, then you're like, okay, finish it up.
Well, in the Loeb Kelly era, that was Joe Kelly that ended up doing that close-up.
Yes.
And Roger Stern in the Triangle era did that a lot. In fact, one of the issue that I'm going to recommend for him is Action Comics 654, which is the ending of Dark Knight over Metropolis. You should really read all of Dark Knight over Metropolis, but 654 is the Roger Stern issue and has what I think is the most important moment in Superman and Batman's relationship since World Finest #1 at the end of that comic. I don't want to spoil it, although you've probably seen it adapted into other mediums and don't know it's from this, but go read that book. I think it is foundational for who Superman was going out of the 80s into the 90s and for Batman and Superman's relationship for decades to come.
All right, we're going to speed some of this along just so we don't keep you too long. But Carl Kessel.
Carl Kessel's going in Argo City for me. I really like Carl Kessel. His Superboy run is fantastic. His Superman stuff is kind of forgettable.
See, that's kind of how I'm feeling. So I was leaning towards Phantom Zone, but I can roll with Argo City. I
mean, it's all solid. None of it's bad.
Like, it's just like good stories, but there's nothing that's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, he was it's exactly that thing you were just talking about with, like, one guy gets the beginning, one guy gets the end, and 2 guys are stuck in the middle. Carl Kessel was perpetually trapped mid-arc. In fact, we can go ahead and springboard into Jerry Ordway, because Jerry Ordway is I said in the other one, my favorite Superman artist, one of my favorite Superman writers. But he is also, with Carl Kessel, he was constantly trapped writing in the middle of arcs. And so you don't really get much chance to see him shine the way that you do some of the other writers of the Triangle era.
So where would you put Conway? Superman? Or
did I say Gary Conway? I meant Jerry Ordway. I think you grabbed Gary Conway.
I can't read. Shh, don't tell nobody.
In your defense, I think that also says Gary Conwat.
Yeah, it says Gary. It says
fault.
it says Jerry Conway, but it's really hard to see. So yeah.
Jerry Ordway is
he's right here
in between Denny O'Neil and Martin Pasco. I'd put him right next to Carl Kessel.
But I'll say it's just, if you were seeing this, everyone, like, some of these are really hard to. They used white font, and they didn't always pick the best images to go with white font. All right, Kurt Busiek.
Kurt Busiek for me it goes directly in Superman. I wish he had the freedom to write some stuff that could have got him in RAL, but his Superman run is probably the most underrated Superman run in a lot of ways, I think. And also, not actually a Superman comic, but it is 100% a Superman comic. Astro City #1, A Dream of Flying, is technically about the Samaritan, but the Samaritan is absolutely as close as you can get to ripping off Superman without getting sued, and he probably should have been sued. It is just a Superman comic. He is just Superman. He works for a magazine instead of a newspaper. But if you're a Superman fan, A Dream of Flying is probably the best single issue of a Superman comic ever. It just doesn't have Superman in it, but it's fantastic.
All right, so let's go ahead with Jerry Conway since we had started. I grabbed him earlier.
Jerry Conway for me is an Argo City guy. I think a lot of his Superman is kind of forgettable, but he did write the first Superman Spider-Man crossover, and it's awesome. And he wrote the giant size Superman versus Shazam fight, which is my favorite fight between those 2 characters. So I think that he holds his own. I think those 2 books are enough to keep him from going into a lower tier. And the other Superman stuff that he's written is fine. It's fine.
I mean, let's just face it also that everyone we're talking about got to actually write Superman, and I haven't. So,
and we're very jealous. Although I did actually start reading a script that Tyler wrote for Superman earlier today, and it's really good.
thank you. I got a few of those.
And I don't mind that you said voiceover, Mike Carlin.
Yeah. I'm also like pulling
you.
from screenwriting, so sometimes that pulls in.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've read some comic scripts from like the DC book of how to write comics. Where I'm just like, this is bare bones. Joe Casey.
Joe Casey, I think, is an Argo City guy. I don't think any of his Superman comics are bad, but I don't think any of his Superman comics are great.
Like, you ever heard the term, like in movie making, like a journeyman director?
Yeah.
Where someone's just, they're a solid director. You bring them in, they know the craft, they make solid films, but they don't have that thing where if you show it, you're not going to point like, that's a blank film. I think this is no disrespect to this filmmaker, but, I heard some people argue and talk about Ron Howard as a filmmaker. He's a solid filmmaker, made some great movies, but there's nothing that points out and says, oh, this is a Ron Howard movie. I know this is a Ron Howard movie because of this. And I feel like that's what a lot of these Argo cities are, with the Kessel, the Ordway, the Conway, and the Casey. Solid, but they're journeyman. Like, they're knocking it out, but they're not anything. All right, Stuart Inman.
I think Joe Casey's biggest problem is that he perpetually lives in the shadow of Joe Kelly. Not only was he writing a lot of the middle comics during the Loeb Kelly era, but both of them are in Man of Action, which created Ben 10 and Generator Rex and a bunch of other cool stuff. So there's a lot of times with Joe Casey that I literally don't remember that he's a different man than Joe Kelly.
Yeah, I would change my name.
Yeah, I'd be Joseph Casey or something,
Or just like Casey Joe and play off like the Casey Jones or like Casey Joe. Like, I don't know. All right, Stuart Inman.
For me, this is a Phantom Zone. I don't like Secret Identity as much as everybody else does, and I think that his stuff right before the Loeb Kelly era is really forgettable.
I think Secret Identity is really cool, and so like the Casey and I talked about this years ago. We did it. I like it till like the last book. I think sometimes in comics they really start great, but then can't really bring the closure. It just goes in a weird way, and I don't know. I
think Secret Identity is. So here's the problem. Secret Identity is the Superboy Prime idea expanded. Superboy Prime idea only exists to patch over that they couldn't use Silver Age Superboy and Crisis on Infinite Earths, and George Perez had already drew it. And George Perez draws really slow. So they had Elliot S. Maggin pull Superboy Prime out of his behind. I caught myself that time. I didn't swear.
His buttocks.
His Elliot ass Megan. Sorry, dang it! I had to circle back. That's too funny.
That's too good. That's good. That's
good. And so then years later you get Secret Identity, and at first you're like, oh, it's Superboy Prime. That sounds really cool. But then as I read it, I go, it's not really a lot here.
Yeah.
What if Superman was the only hero in the real world? Well, not a lot would happen. So there wouldn't be much for him to do.
Right. I cleaned up the ocean today.
But I know people love that comic, and I was singing Kurt Busiek's praises earlier. It's just not. It's not for me.
Lynn Wein.
Lynn Wein has, I think, got to go in Superman. Again, another one of the best writers of the Bronze Age, but also instrumental in DC Comics Presents.
I used to get him and Marv Wolfman mixed up sometimes when I was younger.
I also do as well.
Yeah. Not all their stuff, but just like there's that small area of like, oh, that's, flipping them back and forth.
Well, they were both at Marvel and at DC. They were floating all around each other, and they are very similar writers. But Lynn Wein is what inches him out of Argo City is that, like Gary Conway and Cary Bates, he wrote a bunch, and none of it is super memorable. But Lynn Wein, all of it is good. Like, you might not remember it, but I will bet that if you read a Lynn Wein Superman comic, you are going to have a really good time and have a good feeling in your belly. It's not just going to be fine.
Yeah.
And specifically,
All right.
my issue for this is DC Comics Presents number 29, Superman versus the Spectre, which is a fantastic.
Oh, I've read that one.
One of my favorites.
I always try, like, when I'm not reading, like, if I get my reading for the podcast done, I try to go back and start. It's like every Wednesday is dedicated to all new books. And then it's like read for the podcast. And then when I'm done, then I work backwards. Marv Wolfman, I would have to go Superman.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And I really don't think we have to explain it. I just really think that, yeah.
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
The unsung co-launcher of the Byrne era that does a lot of stuff like Rich Lex Luthor and stuff like that is a Marv Wolfman idea that he does not get enough credit for.
So let's... What?
Go ahead.
No, so, yeah, I was like, we'll just go to Byrne after this.
Well, I was going to say, too, my Marv Wolfman issue is DC Comics Presents Annual #1, which is a absolute gem of a comic. It is the original Superman, the Golden Age Superman of Earth 2, the Bronze Age Superman of Earth 1, and the good guy Lex Luthor of Earth 3 versus the original redheaded Lex Luthor of Earth 2 from the Golden Age, regular, bald-headed mad scientist Lex Luthor, and Ultraman, while also has a B-plot that is Superman coming to terms with the fact that some of the things standing in the way of him and Lois having a relationship is him. Just fantastic comic. One of the best books you can buy if you want to have a blast with one issue of a comic. I can't recommend it enough.
All right. So now we're going to John Byrne. I'm gonna let you start this one. You're gonna say Rao.
He's got to be a Rao. I mean, like I said, to me, the Rao category is people who change Superman forever.
See, and I respect that, but there's a lot that I don't like about what Byrne did, and I've gone back. I am not a fan of Man of Steel. I think that is a weird collection of stories because it jumps around so much.
Yeah.
I don't like that how cool, quote unquote, he makes Clark.
We talked about that last time.
And there's some things in his writing I just don't like, but it is one of those, if I'm going by your criteria, I'll put him in Rao because I respect what you're saying, because he did jump the character forward. He did make a huge impact. But to me, if I was putting I would put him probably in Superman or Argo City.
The biggest thing is, and there's lots of stuff about the Byrne relaunch Superman that I don't like, but I don't think it can be denied that he created the status quo for Superman that really existed right up to the New 52, and still, if you ask people what Superman's status quo is, it's probably what they think.
Yeah, I mean,
we talked about last time. We talked about it with Smallville and Lois and Clark and Superman the Animated Series, and
I would say he definitely put such a staple on the character.
Yeah.
So I will allow it.
I really feel like, though, if the biggest thing that he did for me is, if you think of writing as T-ball, he set the ball on the tee that the Triangle Era guys knocked into the bleachers.
I like that analogy.
If you don't have Byrne's setup, you don't get those incredible decade of Superman comics.
Louise Simonson.
I almost put her in Argo City. I'm going Superman. Man of Steel, her and Bogdanov was regularly one of the most fun books. Had the most energy, had a very social conscious bent that the other Superman books didn't have. And Man of Steel number 80, which is my recommendation for her, is one of the most fun comic. I did an episode on it. There's an episode on Single Bound. Plug.
Yes.
Man of Steel number 80 is, you should listen to the episode and read the comic in the opposite order, because we spoil it. But she really had the voice of the character down. I think she's really underrated.
I agree. All right, this next one, David Michelin, for some reason, nothing's popping to mind for me.
There were two guys on this list that I had no idea they had ever written Superman until I read your list. And I have put a lot of time into reading Superman. And I had no idea. So I guess he's going in the Phantom Zone because he disappeared.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these, even if I had not read, like, that I can think of a story, I know the names from enough talking about Superman with people. Even if I'm not sure if I had read something, like, as we've talked a couple times, I'm like, oh yeah, I did read that. His name didn't pop anything. Okay. Dennis O'Neil on Superman. When I think of Dennis O'Neil, Superman is not a character that comes to mind.
No, and as great as Kryptonite Nevermore is, it's difficult for me to put a writer that famously doesn't like Superman and didn't enjoy writing him much above Argo City. I love Denny O'Neil. I think he ought to be on the Mount Rushmore of comic book writers.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, but I don't think Superman is the character that got him there. Having said that, Superman vs. Muhammad Ali is my recommendation for him.
Yeah.
That is a damn near perfect comic, except for the part where Superman does blackface, but it was Muhammad Ali's idea in the comic, so
Can't blame
it's
him.
off the hook, and other than that, it's incredible.
Martin Pasco.
I know I've read a Martin Pasco Superman comic, but I could not for the life of me tell you one.
Phantom Zone, just because we suck.
Yeah.
Greg Rucka is another one of those, like, I know that name. I see that name all the time. But then when I think, can I think of a specific Greg Rucka Superman story?
He's got one incredible one, and that's Sacrifice, which is one of the it's the book where Wonder Woman kills Maxwell Lord.
Okay.
It's one of the most controversial comics, but I think is the only comic that people call controversial that's actually what they mean, right? Sacrifice is an incredibly controversial, polarizing comic. I do not mean bad, right? People say that about Civil War. Civil War is bad. This is a good comic that is polarizing. Your feelings on Wonder Woman and Superman and their characterizations going in are going to determine how you feel about Sacrifice. But for me, that comic is awesome.
Okay. So where do you want to put it? I'm going to have to say Argo City.
Argo City is exactly what I was about to say. Because he also wrote Ruin, and Ruin is a bad Superman comic. Forgettable character, ruined, Emil Hamilton, bad.
Yeah, I think where I've read in the Triangle era, Emil Hamilton seems unbalanced.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of supposed to be, but so here's the thing with Emil Hamilton. He was created because Superman wasn't going to be a super genius anymore.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, you gotta build out the people around, Supes.
But he is a character that Silver and Bronze Age comic fans hate because they associate him with Superman being lobotomized.
Oh.
And so, basically, as soon as those guys grew up, they gathered around Emil Hamilton like Julius Caesar and stabbed him to death. And he's never appeared in a comic again. But I grew up in the Triangle era, and I like Emil Hamilton.
And he appeared in, like, every form of Superman media.
And I don't need Superman to be good at science, because science is for nerds. So, I'm just kidding. But I like Emil Hamilton. I don't like Ruin. If you were going to turn him into a villain, don't turn him into alternate Lex Luthor number 5. Give him something a little more interesting to be. That's my soapbox on that.
That's okay. Makes sense. Makes complete sense. Okay. Jim Shooter.
I think Jim Shooter goes in Superman. And I'm
not going to argue with you because I know the name. I've read some things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know that he's had a major impact on the character.
Yeah, well, I mean, his biggest impact's on Marvel Comics. The biggest thing about him is he started writing Superboy and the Legion books when he was 13 years old.
Yeah, I remember that lucky duck.
Yeah, no kidding. Although apparently he was pretty severely abused, like shoved around and knocked downstairs and stuff by Mort Weisinger. So there's pros and cons to everything. But but he created the Parasite, in one of my favorite single issues of Superman ever. He wrote the Death of Pharaoh Lad story in Legion, which is a comic that is so far ahead of its time as far as like sophistication and how much gravity and emotional weight that story has. It is crazy to me that a 13-year-old boy wrote it. And he wrote the second Superman-Spider-Man crossover, which I can now say, having read the Mark Waid one, while the Mark Waid new one is really good, it's still the best Superman-Spider-Man crossover.
Yeah, I'm about to read that one. So yeah. Jack Kirby. Now this is what's weird is when I hear Jack Kirby, I never think of Superman, ever.
Nobody's going to like this thing that I say, least of all me.
You know where your iPad is? Where is it?
But I think that Jack Kirby goes in the Phantom Zone.
Now, once again, everyone, this is about Superman. Okay? And I don't believe that every writer can write every character perfect. And I feel that Kirby is not someone that you associate with Superman.
My recommendation issue is Superpowers number 5. I think if you want to count all of the New Gods as a Superman story, then Kirby could squeak his way up into Superman.
But that's because he's adding the New Gods lore. You know what I'm saying?
But if you're only talking about if you're only grading him on the moments that Superman appeared, I love Jack Kirby, but it's not the best Superman stuff. It's psychedelic and weird, and a lot of it's out of character. It's not bad. I like it, but it's not the platonic ideal Superman.
All right. This next one is Jean Louis Yang is trippy because the only time that he's written Superman that I know of is the Superman versus the KKK and when he did the Batman Superman.
Oh, he's got 4. He wrote half of Truth with Greg Pak. So he gets that as a ding against him, I think. He wrote the new Superman, which is not Superman.
Well, I knew that. I just wasn't counting that. Yeah.
And he wrote the Superman Batman crossover, and then Superman Smashes the Klan. So he's got those 4. I think he goes in Argo City. I love Superman Smashes the Klan.
So do I. And I call it versus because it's based off the Superman versus the KKK, which was the original. From the Fiery Cross.
But Truth is bad, and it's my understanding that most of the things that stand out in Truth were his idea. So
I feel like
he's been thrown under the bus for that or what, but it puts him right in the middle of the pack to me.
I feel like that last era, the DCYOU, which was like the fading out of the New 52. I feel like everything suffered. Like nothing really hit.
It was rough.
It was rough all around.
The only thing I remember enjoying at all in that time is the Scott Snyder Batman run.
But even then, it was the super heavy where it was Jim Gordon as Batman and in that weird Batman bunny suit looking thing. Yeah. All right, Gail Simone.
Sorry,
I'll be honest. I forgot that Gail Simone even wrote Superman.
I read the book that she wrote. It's her and John Byrne. Superman fights Black Adam. But I'd put her in the Phantom Zone because I can't tell you anything about that. I can't tell you anything about her run that I'm not actually remembering John Byrne for.
So, right? And that's the thing. I was like, oh yeah, she did write it.
I love Gail Simone though. I mean, all praise to her.
I'm gonna throw out 2 writers real quick before we do this last run. Frank Miller, I'm putting in Exploding Krypton. I don't think he can write Superman at all. Come at me, people. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah, I guess he's got to be. You're right.
And the last one wasn't on here. One of my favorite writers, but I feel like he's just now getting to the point where he can write Superman, and that's Scott Snyder. And I feel like him on Superman, I'm going to go Argo City to Superman right now. But, he did that miniseries, the Unchained, which I did like.
Unchained was pretty good.
And then he did kind of here and there. I mean, his biggest thing is when Clark's appeared like in Metal and everything like that. And then, Clark's big thing even in DCKO. So I'm gonna go with Scott Snyder for Argo City. As far as Scott Snyder writing Superman,
Maybe I would.
I would take Phantom Zone too, because
I'm not going Phantom Zone. Look, maybe it's just because DCKO just left a bad taste in my mouth. But
I'm still not sure how I feel about it. We recorded our episode. I still don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I was misled.
I really disliked it, and unfortunately, it was a very expensive book that I disliked. By the time I was done, by the time I bought all the tie-ins, and I'm a comic shop guy, so like I show up for DC. I am the comic book shop customer, right? I probably bought 50-something issues.
I feel like
KO by the time it was done.
I feel like I'm gonna have to go back, like, because I have to go so far to my shop. I'm gonna have to go like sell plasma and get comic book money. That way, when I spend it and the book sucks, I feel the pain. Like, you gave blood for this. Like, make sure you're smarter about what you spend your money on.
I don't think you'd end up with a lot of Scott Snyder Superman books.
I would like for him to write a new book, because I'd like to see him. I listened to him talk about writing Clark for KO, and I would like to see him like just write another miniseries or Elseworld or something, you know, self-contained, because I want to see his sensibilities as a writer, Superman again, as he's grown, because he has the horror chops and he has the Batman chops and everything.
I'd just like to see him get away. So when you get into cosmic weirdness,
yes,
obviously like Grant Morrison and Alan
We're getting there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Grant Morrison and Alan Moore are like the gold standard. They can write cosmic weirdness better than anybody. And I think when Scott Snyder looks at what happened in KO, I really like Scott Snyder when I like him. He's winning me over on Absolute Batman, which I didn't think he was going to be able to do. But I think he looks at what happens in KO and he thinks that reads like Grant Morrison writing about the Whirligog. And it's difficult to put into words why it doesn't, but it just doesn't. And he has gotten so far now with that side of things from what is his strong suit. I think the problem is that he, like, on his best books, it was early enough in his career that he had a strict editor. And I think he's big enough now that he gets to push editors around, and I don't think that's good for every writer. I think that Scott Snyder is a guy who needs a Jim Shooter.
He needs to be wrangled in. And I mean, like I said, I like the guy. I've got to meet him. I think he's rad. I like to hear him talk.
Seems like a great guy. I'd love to take his class. I think his Batman book is one of the top 5 best Batman books. I mean, if you're listening to this, Scott, I really like you.
I feel like we just get to a point where it just gets to be like, okay, this is way too big. But we're going to circle back to that in a second, because that'll tie into our last one. Charles Soule. I like Charles Soule as a writer a lot, because he's done some cool Star Wars stuff and Swamp Thing. But as Superman, I like the Superman Wonder Woman book, but there's a lot in there that's like of the time.
If you've read this, I'm just going to let you put it wherever it goes, because I had no idea Charles Soule had written a Superman comic.
Yeah, he did Superman. He did Wonder Woman for the New 52, and we explored that. I mean, so Peter Tomasi. I'm going Superman.
I actually think that Peter Tomasi is the last, chronologically, is the last Ral.
Okay.
I think that Rebirth run with John Kent, yes, Jurgens technically did it first, but and in tandem. But I think when people pull from it, it's the Tomasi Gleason Superman book that they're pulling from the most, and I think that it's the best of it. I think that he's the last writer that really moved Superman's status quo forward in a permanent way that affected the whole public. Everybody now feels like Superman has a son, right? It's the first time since Superman and Lois got married that Superman's status quo has taken another permanent step forward. And I don't think that the audience will ever tolerate him being childless again.
Good. They shouldn't be.
Right.
All right. I saved these for the last on purpose. Tom King. I have a love-hate relationship with Tom King. I think he's a good writer. I think some of his stuff doesn't always land. Up in the Sky, the first time I read it, I wasn't a fan. The second time I read it, I liked it more. I still don't think it's as good as it could be.
I love Up in the Sky.
So I'm going to put it at Superman. Because that's really where his book, his Superman writing begins and ends, is just right there in that one book.
I love Up in the Sky. I love the Dark Multiverse, Dark Crisis tie-in that he did, where Clark and John live in the Pocket Universe, and Clark gets to raise John all the way to adulthood. I think that is an incredible Superman comic. That's the one where John has the Robin-looking costume.
Mm-hmm.
Those two alone, I think, are enough to get him into Superman and allow me to forgive some of his other weirder Superman writings. I'll leave it there. When Tom King is, I don't think there is a more binary writer in comics. When Tom King is on, he is as good as Alan Moore.
Okay.
And when Tom King is off, he is as bad as Chuck Austen. And he has never in his career written a comic that is just okay. He doesn't have it in him. It's either one of the best comics you've ever read, or it ruins your month.
Day, month, or even your year.
Yeah.
All right. Joshua Williamson. I'm going Superman because he hasn't ended his run yet. He's still writing. And I feel like he's done a lot of really cool stuff that I've liked. What about you?
I've talked about Josh Williamson on other podcasts. And again, another writer I like a lot as a guy. And I feel like, and I've said this before, if you wrote down everything that happens in Josh Williamson's Superman run, and then you read it as a bulleted list, you'd go, that sounds like a pretty good Superman comic. But the pacing and where the attention goes, I feel like is so off in the whole run. And stuff that ought to be whole story arcs, like a fight between 5 legions, is reduced to a panel. And stuff that could have been a page, like the Mercy love triangle thing, is stretched. There's so much more time spent on Mercy and Lex's love triangle with also Lex than there is on Lex Luthor's face heel turn, which should be one of the most important things in the comic. But Lex just gets his memory back while he's playing a piano and stuff like.
I did feel shortchanged by that. Like, it wasn't even like he got it all back and then struggled with it for a while. Almost like he had 2 personalities.
Yeah, I mean, where it feels like he should breathe, he rushes, and where it feels like he should rush, he breathes. And it's I know it's a nitpicky thing to complain about, but it really, I find it to be a very all right but unsatisfying comic to read, because the coolest stuff is often rushed through. House of Brainiac, I think, is the moment where it really rung home for me.
Okay, let's not get started about that. House of Brainiac pissed me off because, first of all, it should have been a whole separate story about the Zarnians.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome. An idea, and then it kind of falls short. And then House of Brainiac should have started after that. It should have led into House of Brainiac. They shouldn't have been going on together. It shouldn't have been part of it. That should have been its own story.
I don't understand. Those could have been Zarnians from another universe. There's all kinds of things you could have done to make the Zarnian part make sense. But just the fact that this idea of every Brainiac teaming up is so cool, and it's a story where, like, what's the biggest problem we've been talking about with modern Superman comics? There's 30 Kryptonians. Well, guess what? There's 30 Brainiacs. You could have done spin-off issues that were like,
one shots of each Brainiac, kind of like their history, like
versus one of the Superman family.
Two things that I liked in the New 52 they did was the Zero issues, which allowed stories to tell kind of in the past or an origin, and then when they did the villain issues, I liked that when they did the whole villains month, and so. I think a one shot of each Brainiac would have been cool if you dialed into 4 Brainiacs or 5 Brainiacs or something.
Yeah, But instead, the whole comic focuses on the Zarnians and the Brainiac Queen, and ignores all the collection of Brainiacs and how they would interact. They all just become drones that are drawn to look like Brainiacs you recognize, and it's very frustrating. Because I really was excited about that comic, and I really wanted to like it.
So here we go. I would say kind of the big three in a way of modern era.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns.
I love Jeff Johns. He's probably my favorite comic writer. Not to say he doesn't have stinkers.
Yep.
When
So
you're
far,
a writer,
I'm going with you. Let's go. Let's keep going.
But I don't think he has ever really broken into Rel. I think he goes Superman.
I think
his
Brainiac story is great.
Yeah.
But once again, I think he's retreading some previous Superman stuff and I think, his stuff he did in the New 52 was okay. With Ulysses, it was cool, but it wasn't anything great. Yeah. I think Jeff Johns is too much dialed into Christopher Reeve. And I know his whole history with Richard Donner, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that's where his Superman writing falls for me. Though, I do like what he did with Superman and Doomsday Clock, and he does great, but I feel like, it's Superman. Okay.
Secret Origin I love that comic. That's the first. If somebody asks me for a Superman comic, Secret Origin is always what I give them.
I have an up and down with Secret Origin. I like from issue 3 on, because I like the idea of the small scope of like Superman's first and like, if I could take the first half of Birthright and the second half of Secret Origins, there's my basis for my Superman movie right there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say about Secret Origin, I love Secret Origin, I like Brainiac, but Jeff Johns' Superman is so passive. Like, things just happen around him constantly. He's not moving the story. He's not moving the action, and it's difficult.
Okay, we got two left. Grant Morrison on Superman. I'm not a 100% Grant Morrison fan. I think he's a great writer. Sometimes I think he goes too big, too cosmic, too out there. I did like his run in the New 52. He did some great stuff when he was writing like JLA and stuff. But to me, in my heart of heart, I don't think of Morrison as a Superman writer, but someone who wrote Superman.
That's
so,
you don't like All-Star, though.
I don't. Because I feel like it's a good story, but there's parts and I'm like, if I'm not really into the Silver Age and the history, it's like a fan writing for fans. That's why I don't believe that All-Star's the book to give people.
I don't think it. I do agree with you on that. I love All-Star, but I think the people that give people All-Star Superman first,
they're setting themselves up for failure. I like a Superman that's relatable, and I have another hot take that I might not share now, that I'll probably share later on another one, because I've been doing a lot of soul searching on some things. But yeah,
I do think Morrison goes in Rao, though.
I'm not gonna argue with you if that's how you feel. I've said my piece.
Yeah.
But if that's how you feel, I'm okay.
Here's my take on it. Again, for me, Rao is people who change Superman. I don't think there is a more influential Superman on what current writers and current audiences are looking for than All-Star. I think that so much of what is coming out right now pulls directly from All-Star, and how All-Star Superman looks and how All-Star Superman acts. How many covers do we have of him sitting on a cloud?
Well, I
think every Superman comic for the last 8 years has had a variant cover of him sitting on the All-Star cloud.
Well, I think because you have a generation of writers and artists now who were at that time reading All-Star when it was important. I mean, I think Williamson is our generation grown up, right? You know, he grew up on the Triangle, so he's writing
I think you're right.
in a way towards the Triangle era. Just like our next writer, you know, we talked about him, about how he's writing a newer version of the Bronze Age in a lot of way that he grew up with. And the last writer that we have is Mark Waid. And I have to say Rao.
I have to say Rao too. Although I don't think that Mark Waid is as good a Superman writer. I think that one of the biggest reasons he ends up in Rao is because of Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come affected Superman for a decade. Like, you just look at Superman Returns and look at Man of Steel and look at what they look like, and you could see Kingdom Come all over those movies.
Yep.
The idea of the sad, thoughtful Superman floating in space is so Kingdom Come. But I don't know that was positive for Superman to go in that direction for as long as he did. And I think that it infected, I think that Jeff Johns and a lot of other writers like Mark Waid writing that overthinking, indecisive Superman is what messes with their runs. But also, I don't know how much credit for that Mark Waid gets, because so much of Kingdom Come was already baked by the time that he came on board. Having said that, I think the run that actually secures Mark Waid as a Rao is the current Superman-Batman run and the current Superboy run. I think that is the run right now. I think those are the two runs right now that if we jump 10 or 15 years into the future and we ask people what comics affected how you write Superman, those are going to be the two runs that do it.
I agree with you. I also, like I said, I really like the first half of Birthright. Birthright to me plays out as a movie in a book form. Like, that's like a script right there. And I think it's I would prefer, like I said, personally, little things different, but if you're thinking cinematically, that's what it is. Yeah. But there we go, people. I will put the link in the show notes. You can do one yourself. You can comment. You can argue with us. You can call us stupid. Whatever you want to do. It's all good.
Wait. We haven't done our top three.
I was getting there.
Okay.
So, drum roll.
I thought you were going.
Nope. It's how I'm wrapping up.
Okay. Drum
roll into the top three. You pick your three, then I'll go with my three.
This is tough.
So I know I can scroll down and not have to have yeah, there we go.
I see what you did there.
My top three is Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah, 2 slots for Bendis, man. I'm going double Bendis.
I'll go first. If you're not ready, I'll go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go top three, just who I feel comfortable, almost like comfort food reading. Mark Waid, Tomasi, and Loeb.
I think I'm going Loeb. It's very hard for me to decide if Dan Jurgens or Roger Stern needs to be in that next spot.
Jurgens is my number 4. Because then I have to figure out what era of Jurgens I'm plugging into.
It's so hard to tell who is the guy in the Triangle era, and I think it might be Roger Stern, but it also might be Dan Jurgens. It's tough. If I could count the Triangle era as one writer, that would be number 1.
I choose the Triangle. I'm out.
I'm gonna go Loeb, Jurgens. I'm going to go Loeb, Jurgens, and Morrison.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. Let us know your thoughts. Logan, thanks for being here, buddy. It was a good time.
That was great.
Send us everyone your thoughts. Krypton Report podcast at Gmail or any of our social. Find Logan on Single Bound. And, send him a message how some people he voted for are overrated. No, I'm just playing. But take care, and remember.
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for checking out the Krypton Report. Please click our link tree in the show notes to follow us on your favorite social media platform. We have a $1 Patreon, just $1 a month to keep us going, and in return you get exclusive shows and specials. If you want to join us on an episode, send us an email or message.
Hi, this is David Patrick Wilson. I played Superman, Clark Kent, in the television production of It's a Bird, It's a Plane, enjoying every minute of being right here on the Krypton Report.